As a newly hired classroom teacher, I would intentionally create a classroom culture that teaches students how to become independent learners by building self-awareness, self-advocacy, and self-determination into daily instruction and routines. Independent learning strategies help students take ownership of their education, develop confidence, and prepare for lifelong success. Self-awareness begins with helping students understand their strengths, challenges, interests, and learning preferences. I would encourage this by using student interest surveys and learning style inventories at the beginning of the year. I would also encourage this by providing regular opportunities for reflection through journals, exit tickets, and goal-setting activities. I would also encourage a growth mindset for emphasizing effort, persistence, and learning from mistakes. For example, after assessments or projects, students could complete reflection questions such as, what did I do well, or what challenged me? These practices help students recognize their own learning processes and become more confident learners. Self-advocacy involves teaching students to communicate their needs respectfully and seek support when necessary. To encourage this, I would model respectful communication and problem-solving skills. I would also create a safe and supportive classroom environment where questions and mistakes are welcomed. I would also provide structured choices in assignments and activities so students can practice decision making. I would also reinforce that asking for help is a strength and not a weakness. Students need to feel psychologically safe before they can confidently advocate for themselves. Self-determination means students develop the ability to make choices, set goals, problem solve, and take responsibility for their learning. I would support this by teaching goal-setting strategies using short-term and long-term academic goals. I would also support this by helping students break larger assignments into manageable steps. One strategy I would use is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals, or SMART goals. Students would regularly monitor their progress and adjust goals as needed. To successfully teach independent learning strategies, I would establish a classroom environment built on respect, inclusion, collaboration, high expectations, and consistent support. My role would shift from being the sole provider of information to being a facilitator and coach who guides students towards independence. I would gradually release responsibility through the I do, we do, and you do instructional model so students build confidence and autonomy over time. Teaching independent learning strategies is essential for helping students become confident and motivated and also responsible learners. By intentionally promoting self-awareness, self-advocacy, and self-determination, I can empower my students to encourage or to understand themselves as learners, communicate their needs effectively, and take ownership of their educational successes. Establish clear expectations and routines. I would begin by teaching clear classroom procedures, expectations, and routines. By teaching students to learn independence more successfully when they understand what is expected of them, how to complete tasks independently, and where to find the resources. Consistent routines for assignment, transitions, group work, and technology help students become more responsible and self-sufficient. Model independent learning skills. I would explicitly model the strategies students need before expecting them to work independently. So this would include note-taking skills, time management, organization, problem solving, goal setting, study strategies, and self-monitoring techniques. I would use the gradual release model, known as I do, you do, or I do, we do, you do. I would demonstrate skills first, practice them with the students, and then allow students to apply them independently. For example, when teaching research skills, I would first model how to locate reliable sources, then organize the information, and then manage time before assigning an independent project. Teach goal setting and reflection. Students become more independent when they learn to set goals and evaluate their own progress. I would teach students how to create realistic academic goals, provide checklists and rubrics, and also include self-assessment and reflection activities. The reflection activities might include what I learned today, what strategies work best for me, or maybe what challenges did I face. These activities encourage students to become aware of their learning habits and take ownership of improvement. differentiate instruction and provide choice. So students learn independently in different ways. So I would provide differentiated instruction and meaningful choices whenever possible. This might include choice boards, project options, flexible seating, varied reading materials, or multiple ways to demonstrate their understanding. Providing choice increases motivation, engagement, and responsibility because students feel more invested in what they are learning. Successful writing strategy is known as the RAFT strategy. RAFT stands for Role, Audience, Format, Topic. This strategy helps students organize their ideas and write them in different purposes. How I will implement it is I will model how to identify the role, audience, format, and topic before writing. And then students will use graphic organizers to plan their writing, and then I will provide sentence starters and writing outlines when needed. Next, I will peer review and give teacher feedback, and this will support revision and improvement. Last, the students will complete various writing tasks such as letters, essays, possibly journal entries, or possibly creative writing pieces. This strategy improves organization, creativity, and audience awareness in writing. One effective strategy for time and resource management is the use of planners, checklists, and goal setting tools. How I will implement it is students will use planners and record assignments and due dates. Then I will teach students how to break larger assignments into smaller tasks. Next, checklists and visual schedules will help students stay organized. Then students will set short-term and long-term academic goals, and regular progress monitoring conferences will help students evaluate their time management skills. These strategies will promote responsibility, organization, and independence. One effective strategy for word identification and reading fluency is repeated reading. This strategy allows students to reread passages multiple times to improve the accuracy, speed, and expression of their reading. It will be implemented this way. So first I'll model fluent reading by reading passages out loud. Then the students will practice reading short passages several times with partners or independently. Then I will use timed reading to help students monitor their progress. Next, students will receive corrective feedback on pronunciation and pacing, and then I will incorporate readers' theater activities to make fluency practice engaging. The strategy helps students build confidence, improve decoding skills, and increase reading comprehension. An effective vocabulary strategy is the use of the Frayer models. This graphic organizer helps students understand vocabulary words by defining them, identify characteristics, providing examples, and identifying non-examples. This is how I will implement it. I will introduce key vocabulary before lessons, and then students will complete the Frayer model charts individually or in groups. Next, we will discuss the meaning of the words in context. After that, the students will use new vocabulary that they had just learned in speaking and in writing activities. So they'll use the new vocabulary in speaking and writing activities. After that, the vocabulary walls and interactive games will reinforce their learning. This strategy strengthens students' understanding of academic language and improves reading comprehension. Successful reading comprehension strategy is the SQR3, or which stands for Survey, Question, Read, Recite, and Review. This strategy teaches students to actively engage with text before, during, and after reading. This is how I will implement the strategy. First, I will model each step of the SQ3R process using classroom text. Then students will be able to preview headings, the images, and key ideas before their reading. After that, students will create questions based on the text that they just read. During the reading, students will identify important information and summarize the sections that they have just read, and then after they have read the text, students will review and discuss the materials with their peers. This strategy improves comprehension, retention, and critical thinking skills. Effective listening and note-taking strategy is the Cornell note-taking system, and this is how I will implement it. First, I will teach students how to organize their notes into cue notes and summary sections. And then during the lectures or the video, students will record key ideas and supporting details. After that, the students will write summaries to reinforce their understanding of the lessons. And then I will model effective note-taking skills to provide guided practice. This could be before, during, or after. The students will use their notes to study for quizzes and participate in discussions. This strategy improves organization, listening skills, and retention of the information. An effective math problem solving strategy is called the STAR method. S stands for search the problem, T stands for translate the information, A stands for answer the problem, and R stands for review the solution. And this is how it will implement it. I will model how to break down the multi-step problems, and then students will highlight important information and identify operations needed. Think alouds will demonstrate problem-solving processes, and students will work collaboratively to explain their reasoning. Math journals will also allow students to reflect on strategies that they used. This strategy helps students become more confident and systematic when solving mathematical problems. So what will I do to ensure that all students in my class learn to use these strategies independently? First, observe my students. One of the most effective ways to measure independent learning is through daily observation. I would look for evidence that students can follow classroom routines without reminders, begin tasks independently, manage their time effectively, use classroom resources appropriately, or stay focused and organized. As students become more independent, they should rely less on teacher direction and demonstrate greater confidence in managing their learning. Use self-assessments and reflections. I would regularly ask students to reflect on their learning strategies and progress. Reflection activities help students evaluate their strengths and identify areas that they need to improve upon. Examples for how they can reflect are learning journals, exit tickets, self-evaluation checklists, or goal tracking forms. Students could respond to questions with their journals, possibly with questions like, what strategy helped me the most today, or what did I do independently? These reflections provide insight into students' understanding and their use of independent learning skills. Monitor academic growth and assignment completion. So independent learning strategies should positively impact the students' performance over the course of the school year or over time. I would monitor assignment completion rates, the quality of the students' work, participation levels, test and quiz performance, and also their ability to complete multi-step tasks independently, as opposed to single-step tasks. I think multi-step tasks are really important here. Improvement in these areas would indicate that the students are applying these strategies effectively. I would also conduct individual conferences. So meeting with students individually will allow me to discuss the progress and provide personalized feedback. During conferences, I would ask the students to explain how they organize their work, what strategies they use when learning independently, how to handle challenges that they find come up during the school day, or I would also ask them what goals they are working towards. These conversations help determine whether students truly understand and apply independent skills.